Welcome to Raise Nation Radio, the podcast for nonprofit movers, shakers, and change makers. We are here to fuel your passion with a daily dose of fundraising inspiration while keeping the conversations and connections from the annual Raise Conference alive all year long. Tune in for fresh perspectives, bold strategies, and the hottest trends lighting up the nonprofit world. Whether you're just starting out or a seasoned pro, buckle up. Each episode is packed with lively discussions, expert insights, and creative solutions to help you make an even bigger impact. Now get ready for another exciting episode. Please welcome your host from One Cause, Dawn Lego.
Hello, Raise Nation. Welcome back. I'm Dawn Lego. So glad you've joined us again. Or if you're here for the very first time, thank you for sharing this experience with us. We love connecting with you on this channel. And if you've been part of our story for a while, as I mentioned, welcome back. Around here, we celebrate purpose, passion, and the people who make impact possible. So please get comfy and let's dive into this week's episode. Super excited to talk to Danielle Doherty. She is the Community Engagements Manager at Tech Point Youth. And we're going to learn a lot today about youth in our communities and how we're engaging them and how Danielle's engaging them. So please help me. Welcome to the show, Danielle Doherty from Tech Point Youth. Hi, Danielle. How are you today?
Hi, Dawn. So nice to see you. And thanks for having me on the show.
Of course.
I'm doing really well. I had mentioned to you I have a little bit of a cold, so I don't know if I can be a little more, a little nasally today, but other than that,
you sound great.
Outstanding.
Yeah, you sound great. We're recording this going right into the summer, so it's probably allergies combined with a little bit of a summer cold. That's the worst. Yeah, I know.
Loving the weather though.
I have a black granite, I think it is, or maybe quartz, I don't know, thing on my island. It's black and you could wipe the pollen off of it, literally. Yeah, it's terrible.
That season.
For sure. Well, let's not talk about the weather. Let's talk about more important things. I think our audience and all of Raise Nation just wants to get to know you a little bit better. You know, a title is a title, let's get to know the real Danielle. Share with us, your journey, what you do at Tech Point Youth and how you got there. We want to know all the, spill the tea and share whatever you'd like personally as well.
Well, I always like to start out by telling people as community engagement manager, I am in the business of fundraising, but more importantly, fundraising. And I got into the nonprofit space by accident, probably even as a teenager. I was really involved in different community initiatives locally, statewide, and some nationally. And as I moved into college, I kept doing that and ended up running one of the largest volunteer organizations at Ball State at my time there. And I fell in love with this work, and I was studying to become a teacher. So I ended up going into the classroom for several years after college, but my heart for philanthropy never quite left me. And I actually ended up back in the nonprofit space, running a nonprofit locally and doing a few different things. And
now, where's locally for you? What's locally?
So locally is in Indianapolis, Indiana. I actually live in a suburb.
Home of One Cause.
Yep, absolutely. And right now, the amazing Indiana Pacers and Fever and all the things. It's good to be a sports fan in Indiana right now.
Oh, for sure. Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, and I actually live in a very small suburb in Hancock County that's just southeast of the city, and thoroughly enjoyed the opportunities to get involved in my community. And that's a very short, I should say, way of saying I found Tech Point Youth about 1.5 years ago.
You found them or they found you? Or
both?
Them. Okay, great.
Yep, I found them. And I actually ended up applying for the job because the description of community engagement manager felt very perfect for my background in education and nonprofit work. And it just all aligned really, really well. So I'm thankful to be there.
Wow, that's an interesting story and journey. I feel like it takes special people with passion and calling to be in the nonprofit space. And so I'm not surprised that it started at a very young age, for you, and just kind of was a theme, throughout your journey. Well, we're glad that you're at Tech Point Youth because I know we're driving some great community engagement and impact. But tell us all about Tech Point Youth. For those that might not know, what's the mission? Who do you serve?
Yeah.
And, you have a big net that you cast, right? I think you reach over 50, almost 60,000 students, but getting programming and services to the right students, the ones that are most vulnerable, who need it most, that's got to be challenging. So how do you navigate all of that after you talk to us more about the mission?
Yes. So Tech Point Youth is a statewide organization in the state of Indiana. We reach all 92 counties. Most people don't believe it, but there are only 4 of us working full time to do this work. We serve, we're the largest supporter of STEM education for K through 12 students. And we want to make sure that the students who are the most vulnerable, as you said, have access to experiential learning opportunities so that they can, I like to say, see what they could be so that they can increase their STEM knowledge and access to potential STEM careers. And that's a long-winded way of saying we really love to make sure students get excited about and exposed to the ideas of STEM as early as possible.
Even at kindergarten, huh?
Even at kindergarten, we have programming that reaches our kindergartners all the way
Wow.
up through seniors in high school.
Okay.
And I mean, as you mentioned, we serve 55 to 60,000 plus students a year. We do that with grants. We like to fund in classroom and after school robotics programming. We support teachers with mentors in their classrooms so they can volunteer and bring those STEM professionals closer to the students earlier. And we do a lot of work by focusing on priority populations. We believe in not just equality, but equity, trying to take STEM to those communities and resources to those communities that don't traditionally have those opportunities. So we help anybody who wants to gain access to STEM opportunities, but we do focus on students of color, girls, and those in under-resourced or underrepresented populations.
So why is that? Why are we not, especially in 2025, why have we not leveled the playing field? Why is there still such a issue, if you will, with certain populations not accessing the education that they want, whatever it is, whether it's music or theater or STEM, or why are we still seeing these gaps?
I think some of it has to do with traditionally or historically, we're catching up from the way spaces were designed. Spaces were typically designed not for the populations we serve. And I don't think it was necessarily intentional all the time, but it wasn't intentionally designed to capture everybody. So the interest levels for young girls might have been more stereotypical in the directions we guided them in the past, or students in underrepresented communities. When survival is top of mind, dreaming big might not always be the thought process to go after resources for STEM or access to those opportunities. And so we are working to partner with the schools, partner with the teachers directly to provide them high quality STEM education, curriculum, and resources. We have built great partnerships with folks who are doing the same type of work, but maybe they don't have the access to the communities, as we talked about earlier, that we do. And so with that, I think we're lifting up this opportunity for people who have not traditionally had access to these resources to experience focus for them on getting access to those resources. Still nationally, women only make up about 24% of the STEM fields and workforce. And I think that's
a shame, because there's probably so many brilliant students that would contribute and thrive and be successful that we're all missing out on. They are, we are, right? We're all missing out on that.
Well, and that's when we go back to our focus is on, we really try with our volunteers, with the communities we serve. We want students to see who they can be. And so we like to find volunteers that look like them and are representative of everybody. Because, we think about if we're wanting a future that reflects all of us, we have to build that together. We have to be inclusive and equitable for access. And so
practice what you're preaching.
Yeah, we really are. While I can't necessarily explain the why in depth, I can tell you the what and what we're doing to try to make
and
change.
We applaud that. Thank you. It's just it's so important that we bridge this gap and kind of just shift the narrative about who you can be, right? You don't have to follow a path that was defined for you, 100 years ago. You can be whatever, however you want to be. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about your programming for kindergartners. I would imagine that it's very collaborative between parents and Tech Point Youth and schools and corporate sponsors and, you know, space museums and everybody kind of coming together to make this programming? Or am I just living in a big dream? Like, to give us an example of some of your programming.
Yes. So we have 3 former educators on staff. So of the 4 of us, 75% of us used to be in the classroom.
Wow.
And so we are excited. We have partnered with VEX, and VEX has amazing curriculum that they have built in partnership with even our own Indiana Department of Education. And then with us also having former educators on staff, we're looking at how can we reach students where they are, make it interesting and make it exciting and engaging. VEX 123 is a program that we are implementing in kindergarten and first and second grade classrooms. And it's teaching students how to code in a very, very basic way.
You have a 6-year-old coding? My goodness.
Well, and it's most interesting is we've actually had a teacher pilot this in one of our township schools here in Indiana. And they've used it to help students read. So sounding out the different letters and the letter sounds, or sounding out the different syllables and the blends. The students can use these little robots to help guide them in the reading process. We also have VEX Go, which is a curriculum that's for lower to middle elementary education, which helps students get introduced to robotics, but also they have amazing curriculum where you can use the parts. Even if you don't build a robot, you can use them in science, for example, to build an animal's biome, or you can use them in social studies to think through a historical event and build out timelines. So the kits themselves, while the goal is eventually to use them for robotics, I think VEX has done a really excellent job of creating curriculum that can reach across all subject areas.
Now, does AI play a role at all in any of your program? Are you seeing AI integrated and leveling up some of the program, or are we not there yet?
We aren't quite there yet, but it's definitely on our radar. You know, technically you could use AI to help with the coding aspects of some of the resources that we give, or the grants that we give to purchase the kits for in-classroom or after-school robotics. But it's very much on our radar. Our board of directors is thinking through how can we support teachers in this new landscape. We're thinking through, there's a bit of a rub, I guess you would say, between education and AI, and that how do we authentically make sure students are gathering knowledge and not just regurgitating what a robot has fed them. So I think there's opportunity for us to help in that space. We haven't quite decided what that is yet, but it's something that is on our radar.
Got it. All right. So we talked about a number of vulnerable populations. What I didn't hear and I'd like to address is the special needs community. Is that part of your focus? Does programming change in any way in the spirit of meeting students where they are? And is that part of what your outreach as well?
So as I mentioned, our outreach is for all students. I have an example of an after-school club in one of our Indianapolis schools that focuses on robotics. And the way that they have adapted their program is, instead of going the full depth after-school robotics where you might get into, it's called VEX IQ, where it is a little more challenging for some students, they have turned their robotics club into a friendly, inclusive environment for students of all different emotional and learning intelligences. And they have extra classroom aides or teacher's assistants. We have volunteers that go and help the students. And even though they might not be able to, and what I think is the beauty of the curriculum we find, even though they might not be able to connect with the language of the curriculum as well, because there's so many pictures, because things are color coded, because things are placed in step-by-step formation, I'm finding that students of all learning and language levels find success with our programs.
And do you charge for the program, or are you bringing it?
No, we work really, really hard, and our CEO, George Giltner, and our Vice President, Jamie Inskeep, they work really hard to build partnerships with corporate partners and seek out grant funding so that we can have the funds, if you will, to cover what the students and the teachers might need. We have an amazing robotics grant process, and we support, as I said, in school and after school. We support younger level learners, as well as our STEM for All grant, which is helping make sure that the grants we have given are sustainable. So if teachers or students need other resources and materials, they can continue to apply for grants for that support.
Nice.
beyond all of that, and this is where I
Yes.
think people get shocked there's only 4 of us. Beyond all of that, once you're a part of our community, we continue to support you for free. In perpetuity, with education, with support. We hold trainings every summer for our teachers and robotics coaches. And honestly, Dawn, people can call up any one of us. Andy Fulton, our
Any one of the
programs
4 of
manager.
you.
Yeah, any one of them. But Andy Fulton, our programs manager, is probably one of the kindest humans you will ever meet in your life. And he is always available to support those who are a part of our ecosystem. And even those who aren't and just have heard about us. We are always just trying to, I say this in the best way possible, collect as many people who are interested in supporting STEM as we are, and making
Yeah,
sure that they
wow.
feel supported by us.
I love that it's you don't enter and exit, right? It's not one and done. It's like a culture, like a lifestyle. It's sustainable. It's, here's where we are now, but here's where we can go, and that you're there for that whole journey. So it's a beautiful approach, and I think it's STEM, is here to stay, right? It's not just a session that we want, to bring you. We want to evolve and grow with you. So how many students have you reached? Do you calculate that?
Oh my gosh. I don't know that I have that number off the top of my head. As
A
I
lot,
said,
it sounds like.
It is. Excuse me. And we, anywhere from, 55 to 65,000 a year. We have a very lofty goal of about 70,000 coming up. And some of those students, they would repeat year over year because they're part of our ecosystem. I don't know, Dawn, if we've ever had that number completely calculated as the individual touch points.
And so how does somebody get involved?
Team.
Is it mostly on the school district or club level, or how would somebody get involved if they want to bring programming to their curriculum?
Yeah, the first thing somebody can do, they can check out our website at techpointyouth.org. And if you go under STEM programs and click on robotics, there will be just a plethora of resources, from grants to training videos to ways to start your own clubs or to explore this VEX programming that I've mentioned. Another way people can get involved, which goes back to the friend raising that I was talking about, is you can volunteer with us. We actually have a Get Involved button.
Get Involved button. I like those CTAs.
Yeah. Get Involved headline there. And whether you're coming from a company or you're coming as an individual, we have opportunities to get you connected so that you can support STEM education throughout the state of Indiana.
Do we want to shout out any company in particular that has been particularly kind in collaborating and partnering with you? Let's give them a little love.
Yeah. Group 1001 has been amazing.
Oh, I know Group 1001 for sure. They're amazing in the area.
They have been probably one of our best partners throughout the years, but we have so many, and I don't want to
leave anybody out, right? For sure, I understand.
Definitely have dozens of folks that we work with. Lilly Endowment has one. The Indiana Department of Education's been another. Sally Mae.
Names that I'm not surprised at. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Lilly
and the list could go on and on.
On and on.
Excellent post-secondary partners like Purdue and IU and Ivy Tech, and the list, like I said, it goes on. We are very fortunate in our friend raising, and that the people.
So what's the difference between friend raising and fundraising? What's the major difference, and why would you define yourself more as a friend raiser instead of a fundraiser?
Yeah, I always say I do both, but I think friend raising comes first because you have to connect with people on a human level, and I think I always say, I feel like I have an easy job because as I'm doing the friend raising, it's the idea of mobilizing people to get connected to a mission that has real impact. I feel like whether it's a parent, a volunteer, a corporate partner, they're helping us bridge the gap between what is and what is possible, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. And with friend raising, it's making that deeper connection that they belong to something that really gives them that sense of change, that what I'm doing provides change for what I hope to see. And so I just enjoy making friends with people first. So I like to invite them in to volunteer or just see our programs up close and personal before I ever really open the door to say, now can you support us with dollars? Because time is money. And as we all know, the power of volunteer time equates to dollars raised. If I had to raise money to pay people to go into the classrooms or support our state championship, it would be equally as challenging sometimes as it is to encourage people to support us with time and talent, not just treasure.
I applaud your mindset truly, because it sounds like you're transforming communities.
Well,
You don't
thank
have
you.
that transactional mindset where,
No.
I need your 100,000, 10,000, and, here's your thank you. You're really, bringing people into the mission so that, you're one community. And, that's why you're successful. I think that's why you're driving so much impact. So
Well,
great
thank you.
mindset, refreshing to hear, as well. All right. I want to talk a little bit about success, right? We're talking about the programming and the journey and, some wonderful sponsors and partners that have worked with you, but, that's all great. But can you give me, without maybe mentioning a name, just to protect privacy, is there a standout story that you can share with us?
Yes. Oh gosh, there's a lot. I'm trying to think of the most recent one. I can tell you a story without giving away names. So we
Great.
have had in the past scholarship recipients that we've Purdue has been excellent at supporting a robotics student with a full academic tuition-based scholarship in the past with us. And it's given out at our state robotics championship. And the parameters of the student needed to be a part of robotics in high school. And often we hear the stories of students who they weren't sure where else they belonged. So they started in robotics and they found their people, and they went from students who were shy, reserved, maybe a little timid and unknowing of their voice or their passion, to students that have transformed their communities by starting and making sure that robotics camps began so kids could get in it as they were younger. Like they take what they've learned and they pay it forward or go backward in time and make sure that those kids like them have that opportunity before they received it, if that makes sense.
I'm
And
following.
those students go on who've received these scholarships, and they go into their post-secondary careers and often excel in something wonderful. And these scholarships are often not just merit-based, but need-based as well. So we go back to making sure kids who typically wouldn't have had access to a world of possibility now do. I mean, I could probably give you another very specific example. I just am being general because these are the themes and the trends that we find as students get involved with our programs.
So good to hear. Really, congratulations. I just love what you're doing and how you're doing it, right? Both are important.
Thank you.
So what do you need? Right? I mean, we know that there's some CTA buttons on your website that probably say get involved and donate, right? That's a given. But if the audience is listening and they're inspired as much as I am, and somebody local or not, just wants to support, what is it that you need?
Yeah. I mean, it does go back to the whole fundraising component. If you're interested in the work that we do, I would encourage you to reach out and hold a meeting with us so we can dive a little deeper into why you're interested in the work.
I love that.
Because I think that's where, when we find the cross section of curiosity and passion, that's where we find real impact, where people might think, and obviously we always appreciate donations, but people might think, oh, well, I only have a few bucks to give, or all I can give is a $100 donation one time. I mean, let's talk about what impact that would make so that we can keep up with you and keep in communication with you on how that made a difference. We always are interested in volunteers. We have a STEM mentor program, which I haven't talked much about, but it's our ongoing opportunity for STEM professionals to connect with schools and educators so that they can bring their knowledge and expertise closer to the future workforce. And I would love to have people consider volunteering for that. But again, the biggest thing is just, if you connected with us today or what I had to say, please reach out. Let's talk more about why, and we'll make sure to get you in the right path and avenue that makes the most sense.
I love that
for your
answer.
support.
I love that you said you want to know why first, right? And you didn't give a cookie cutter answer, right? There was no, oh, well, please go and donate different level. You really want to connect with that person,
Yes, we
understand why, and create space for them to contribute. So you're meeting everybody where they are. And that's really a beautiful thing.
I have a lot
All right,
of meetings, Dawn.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Maybe we've just uncovered a few more for you. So I hope that's the case. All right. I want to wrap up with this. Give me the vision. Where are we going? What's the 5-year plan? What's the 10-year plan? What's the dream, the hope, the goal for the organization?
Yeah, I mean, our vision's pretty big. It's a big dream. We want to make sure every student has an experiential learning opportunity in STEM in their K through 12 journey. And we mean that hands-on, minds-on, that passion and spark gets ignited to where they can't think of doing anything else but moving into a high
Life calling.
value STEM career life calling. Yep.
Yeah.
That's our vision.
I want to see, I just want to be like a fly on the wall or an observer seeing little kindergartners or 6-year-olds, playing with robots and coding. Are the programs mandatory or like if it's part of the curriculum, I would assume that that's part of their school day, but like the after school programs, is that like based on sign up or how,
That's typically based on sign up and interest. And what's pretty amazing in some of our schools, they also are working to make sure, transportation is provided to students to get home, so that's not a barrier, because a lot of times the parents are working sometimes second jobs. And so transportation barrier is reduced there. And the school partners that we have are working to eliminate that. But yeah, a lot of it is voluntary. Students can sign up. They don't have to. And that's where their passion extends beyond the classroom.
All right. I don't know how you're doing this with just 4 people. Really? I'm exhausted just listening.
Our board. I'll be honest, I didn't shout out to our board. Our board of directors.
Oh, let's give the board a shout out. Super important.
Our board of directors are amazing. They're incredibly passionate STEM professionals themselves.
Okay,
They range from school professionals all the way up to some of the highest STEM companies you can imagine, like Microsoft and Google and beyond. And we have really amazing folks that they really do practice what they preach, and they are excellent advocates for not just our organization, but the students we serve outside of the board meetings as well.
And let's shout out the volunteers, right? We
Absolutely.
Yes, your volunteers. I'm sure they are just vital to the organization and the roles that they're playing. And do you have the same group of volunteers that you're seeing over and over, or are people coming and going all the time, or what does that look like?
No, so it's a little bit of both. It just depends if it's one of our one-time opportunities versus our ongoing. But I see and have the privilege of partnering and working with the same folks in both of those. I have been here about 1.5 years, Dawn, and we're just finishing up my first cohort, not our first cohort, but my first cohort of STEM mentors. And I am pleased to say already 1/3 have signed up to come back for next year's. I just think those that are floating out there, it's, what do they call it? The Maycember. It's very busy time of year.
Maycember.
Yeah,
I didn't. I learned something today. I didn't know that was a month.
May can be just as busy as the holidays, December sometimes. So the energy is very similar, just different times a year with the school years wrapping up, and summer is right around the corner.
So you don't get a chance to catch your breath.
Yeah. And so I think some folks they're just waiting to sign up. But no, I am very thankful and grateful for my volunteers that some, I always say, they've turned into super supporters because they hit all 3. It wasn't just time and talent, but now they've also believed in us by donating to our mission with their treasures. And so I'm seeing more and more of those folks show up, and just very grateful and proud to find the folks that we have, because even on LinkedIn, I find them and see the accolades and involvement beyond just what they do with us. I like to brag on them whenever I can too.
Well, I'm not convinced that you're not 3 people, right? I'm not convinced. I'm not sure that your 4 is not really 12 or more, but thank you so much for what you do and how you're impacting the community. STEM education is so important, and it should be accessible to, if you're 5 or you're 18, regardless of who you are, where you come from, you should have that accessibility to that path if you want it. And thank you for making that happen. It's a shame that it's just not there already, but if we have a gap, at least we have the work that you're doing, to kind of bridge it somewhat. So thank you so much. And thank you also, you're almost the poster child of the approach and how you should go about things. You're creating real connection, meaningful impact, and an ecosystem that's just strong as hell, right? So
Well,
Good for
appreciate
you.
that. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll have to check back with you and hear how things are going. But you wanted to add something, please.
I was going to say, and I would have been remiss had I not mentioned, and I say this, you didn't ask for it, so I say this willingly. One Cause has been an excellent resource as well for us and a tool for us to do this friend-raising and fundraising. And so it's been really interesting and neat to see just what we have been able to do with working with all of you there at One Cause to get our messaging buttoned up and tightened up so that people have a quick landing page so they can do either, right, get involved with us because they're curious and want to know more, or they can, if they see fit, donate with us or donate to us while they work with us. And I really appreciate the acknowledgement too. Like, there is only 4 of us, but as you mentioned, our partnerships and ecosystems they're amazing. We are very lucky to do what we do with the board members and partners that we have. So thank you for
Good for
shouting
you.
that out.
Of course. And we're so glad that we have this platform that we can cast a spotlight, on your mission. And we want to hear how you're going and how your fundraising is doing. And, we're honored and privileged at One Cause to do what we do and play just a small role in your mission and growing your impact. So thank you. I would never ask, but I'm happy that, you volunteer that so authentically, and our team would certainly appreciate it. It's why we do what we do every day, right? We want to make the most impactful, innovative tools and opportunities for you to keep the connections and the friend raising or raising.
Yep.
It's premium. So thank you so much. Well, please, hopefully come back and join us again. Let us know how you're doing, especially being in our backyard. We're rooting for you and cheering you on.
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate your time today. Raise Nation, that's a wrap on today's episode. A heartfelt thank you to Danielle from TechPoint Youth. I'm just doing amazing things and doing it the right way. If you want to get more information on TechPoint Youth, we will have all that information in the show notes, and you can get involved and support and be part of that amazing community. And to our incredible listeners, you are the heartbeat of Raise Nation. Your stories, your passion, your impact, as you just heard, it's what makes Raise Nation just so special. So don't be a stranger. Tune in, reach out, and maybe even join us on the show as well. But until next time, you stay fearless and keep raising the nation. Fearless Fundraisers, that's a wrap for today. A heartfelt thank you to our guests for sharing their stories, insights, and expertise. And to you, our fantastic audience, for everything you do to build brighter tomorrows in our communities. We hope today's content inspires you to amplify your mission and grow your impact. Don't forget to join us for new episodes every Thursday, wherever you listen to your podcasts, or catch us on YouTube and on demand at onecause.com. And before we go, we'd love your help in growing this podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, please like, follow, and subscribe to Raise Nation Radio. Share it with a friend, and please leave us a review so we can continue delivering content that inspires and empowers. Raise Nation Radio is produced in partnership with One Cause, your go-to for digital fundraising solutions that connect nonprofits with their donors and drive results. Visit onecause.com or scan the QR code to schedule a one-to-one with their fundraising experts and explore the latest tools and innovations to help you reach more and raise more. Plus, be sure to check out their extensive catalog of free resources to support your mission. All the links are in the show notes. Raise Nation Radio is inspired by the annual Raise Conference, presented by One Cause. We'd love to see you in person at the next Raise event in September. It's a 2-day experience featuring over 35 CFRE-accredited sessions, dynamic speakers, and the latest innovations from our sponsor pavilion, and priceless networking opportunities. And while you're there, don't miss the Fearless Fundraiser Party. It's where memories are made and lifelong friendships are formed. Secure your spot today at onecause.com/raise. The link is also in the show notes. Until next time, thank you for tuning in. And as always, stay fearless